ESPN.com. Jamaal Williams on ESPN. Had some very interesting things to say. Says the Lions will take the NFC North next year.
Wait, hold on. Is he signed to a contract?
Not yet.
The way he's talking, it sounds like he wants to come back.
It's going to get done.
I love it.
We'll get to that at 9:30. And this is one of the easier re-signs I can remember in Detroit Lions free agency history. This is like so obvious. You just do it. You pay whatever it is, not for the production. You pay for the leadership. It does matter.
The character.
You pay for the guys that are the same when the team is good and bad. But beyond that, he says the Detroit Lions are going to win the NFC North. And you know what? I'm on board, man. We said it before. He said it before anybody really was going out and proclaiming themselves. But the point is, hey, guys, they're really good. No. Okay, let me back up. The Detroit Lions are not just really good. They have a really good opportunity to win the North. The Vikings are in cap hell. They have a lot of tough decisions to make. The Packers don't know what the hell is going on. Aaron Rodgers is locked in a cabin for the next 4 days, so we don't even know what the fuck is going on there. And the Chicago Bears, yes, a lot of money. Yes, the top pick in the draft. Yes, still 2 years away from really forming a legitimate roster, unless they pull a Brad Holmes, they pull what Seattle did, and they pull 4 or 5 starters in one draft. They do that, they'll change my mind.
And that's if Fields turns into who they think he'll be.
Well, that's a whole other conversation. Yeah,
right.
But the North is the weakest it's been in years. Minnesota 11-0 in one possession games. I promise you, if they play 11 next year, they would be lucky to win 6 or 7. They would be lucky, which means they would have a losing record this past season. Think about that. The Lions have an excellent chance. And it's not just because everybody around them is weaker. It's not because the NFC is one of the weakest NFCs we've seen in years. No. That's part of it. But also down the stretch, Chef, they were 8-2. They played some of the best football in the NFL. They had a top 15 defense down the stretch. The offense is and always has been what you expected it to be. They should believe they can win the North.
Mm-hmm.
It is the damn minimum expectation next year. Worst case scenario, just a wild card and you barely lost the division on a tiebreak or something. By 1 game. Half a game. I don't know. Something very legitimate and close. But that North crown is theirs to take, man. It's in their hands.
Absolutely, and the players know that. I mean, you look at the proof's in the pudding. You go back to last year, you're 5-1 in your own division, and that's even spite that 1-6 start. And you go to Minnesota and completely throw that game away. Jamaal knows what they have. And that's why I love Jamaal, because he's been speaking for the team lately. He's clearly a leader, more of those foundational pieces. And not talking about as an Aiden or Kirby. I'm talking about in terms of leadership, importance, teammates loving him, coaches, and even Brad Holmes loving him. Like, Jamaal is kind of embodies the entire team. So he's got to come back. And I know it won't be expensive, so there's a little sprinkle on top of that. But to talk about the North, to be 5-1 in the NFC North, in a year where you're second, and given they have to be healthy, of course, this upcoming season, that's a big part of it, but they have assets, right? And last year, even the assets they utilized or they took in the draft, Aiden, Kirby, Malcolm, so on and so forth, those guys were some of your more impactful players on defense. And you saw down the stretch, the defense improved. We knew what the offense was. We didn't know they would be a top 3-4 offense in the NFL, but we know they'd be better. They'd be good. But you're coming back next year with the same coaching staff, mostly. You added some new guys, Scotty Montgomery. You got a defense that it isn't going nowhere. I mean, a lot of these impactful players are under contract for an extended period of time. But on top of that, you have momentum. Like, that's a big part of it. I know, Terry always says momentum doesn't transfer from season to season. 8-2 down the stretch, competing with some of the better teams. I mean, almost beating Buffalo on Thanksgiving, completely obliterating the Jacksonville Jaguars, beating the Packers in Lambeau.
That's a bit
Sunday Night
SOL
Football.
to me.
That's what the whole it doesn't translate thing.
It doesn't translate when you're 3-11. You're 3-11,
and you win the last 3 games.
And you win the last 3 games.
I agree.
That doesn't mean shit.
8-2
but
is
when
different.
you go 8-2 down the stretch, you beat New York, a playoff team, on the road. You beat the Bears on the road. You sweep them. You sweep the Packers. You win in Lambeau, knock them out of the playoffs. Yes, you had a dud against Carolina. You play it close with the Buffalo Bills. That wasn't a cupcake schedule where you were walking around like, oh, win, 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 win. No. They looked like a legitimate football team. What do you mean it doesn't translate into next year? Of course it does. Of course it does. Now, do you want to avoid a 1-6 start? That would be ideal, please.
And eliminating some of those duds on offense, of course.
I'd like to not rip my hair out 7 weeks into next season, please. I would really appreciate that, Detroit. So if we could start 4-3, I would be very happy. Please avoid a 1-6 start. I swear to God, I might lose my fucking shit. Please. So come out to a good start. Doesn't need to be hot. Have a good, consistent season. Let's go compete for the NFC North, where 10-11 games probably wins the North next year.
I agree. I think 10-11's fair. And in Minnesota, I think they'll be in the conversation. But like you said, the only way the Lions, in my opinion, won't win the NFC North is if it's a game, difference, or you lose, towards the end of the season. Minnesota gets you by a game. That makes sense. But there's no reason why the Lions can't be close second or first. Like, they're in a great position right now. I mean, who knows? They have the 6th and 18th pick. They have some money. You got to bring some of these players back. You're going to get a full season of Jameson Williams. We'll see what they do at right guard. Like, there's a lot of things to look forward to. And on top of that, everyone's pretty much, or most of the guys, have learned from mistakes, right? Dan Campbell, we talked about his development towards the end of last season. That 1-6 start, I think, as ugly as it was, it taught a lot of guys, including coaches, lessons into next season. So you can't start 1-6. I don't think they will. I think they learned a lot from that start. But again, the schedule will look a little differently. So, I mean, early in the season, we talked about all the teams they were facing. Faced a lot of winning teams early on, and they almost took down the Vikings, of course, in the NFC North. But if you go 5-1 last year with a 1-6 start and in that roller coaster of a season, you go into next season with more talent, guys 1 year older, getting better, improving. There's no question to me who should be the favorite. It's the Lions, but we'll see. We'll see. I think Minnesota will be in that conversation, but they might even have to let Dalvin Cook go.
They might have to
Dalvin
let
Cook.
Adam Thielen, Harrison Smith,
Yep.
and Dalvin Cook. And maybe they're lucky to get one player alongside re-signing Justin Jefferson to the highest contract in wide receivers.
It seems like two teams are trending downwards with the Vikings and Packers because of the cap hell they're in. You have the Bears trending slightly upwards. I don't think they'll be good next season. And then you have the Lions, who are in the middle. They're trending upwards, but they still have enough to compete. They're in a great situation right now.
I'm confidently optimistic. I think what Jamaal Williams said is a breath of fresh air. I don't even recall in the Stafford days, in the Calvin days, and even when he had a top 5 defense, where conversations were not only local but national about your football team winning the North. Hasn't happened to me. Now, does Jamaal Williams speak for everybody? No. Maybe there are people out there that have their reservations. I am not one of them, Jeff. I don't believe you are
No.
either. This is a team next year that should compete for the North. And I think they can win it. And yes, I do think Minnesota wins 3-4 less games this year. I do. Kirk Cousins is still their quarterback. And with all the money they're going to put into him and Justin Jefferson, good luck, because that defense isn't getting better overnight.
No, and they got TJ coming down the pipeline. He's got to get paid.
They have to pay.
You're going to have to. I mean, come on. You're going to keep paying offensive players a majority of your salary cap, and you got your defense over there that is one of the worst secondaries in the NFL. So the Vikings and Packers have more talent on defense, but they got to figure out what they're doing at quarterback. So both those teams, to me, they got some things to figure out. The Lions don't have too much to figure out. They just got to patch some holes.
We make a lot about this running back room situation. We'll talk more about it at 9:30, but just deep breath. Tyler Algier ran for 1,000 yards, 5th-round draft pick for the Falcons.
Yeah.
Isaiah Pacheco, playing in the Super Bowl, took over the starting role in Kansas City, 7th-round draft pick. You don't need to sign Josh Jacobs. You don't need to re-sign Jamaal Williams for a boatload of money. Resign him. Pay him what he's asking for. Don't overspend. Go draft a running back in the 5th round. Hell, draft one in the 5th and the 7th. I don't care what you do. Just draft one later on in the draft. I promise you they'll be just fine. If Swift goes down again, you'll have Jamaal and fresh legs, rookie running back, ready to insert behind a very good offensive line.
He'll just take Justin Jackson's spot, which, I mean, listen, great. He provided some great things for the Lions this year, but, I mean, come on. You'll have a draft pick to replace him. So I'm all for you. I don't think it changes what we think they should do in the draft, but Jamaal is somebody that you got to bring back. He even said in the same, when he made the appearance, he wants to retire if he could.
Guys,
so,
I don't like being mean, okay? I'm really working on my anger.
Oh, you're not? You don't like to be mean?
No, this is the thing. Like, I'm really working on my anger problems.
Are
Having
you?
said that,
Are
Steven,
you actually?
what the fuck?
Oh God.
Steven, shut the fuck up, man. Just don't say dumb shit.
Okay, if you're working
Shut
on
up, fish. Shut up. It's 8:30 in the morning. I don't have time for this shit. Who else do the Atlanta Falcons have? Algier is not as
take a deep
productive
breath.
on a more talented team. Put him on the Lions and he gets Craig Reynolds numbers. Dude, he averaged 5 yards a carry. What the fuck are you talking about? You know who averaged 5 yards a carry on your team? Nobody. You know what kind of offensive line you have? You have a top 5 offensive line. You know what the Falcons have? Dick.
I know, that's what's unreal.
All the Falcons do is run the ball. Yes. Because they can't throw it, which means they're one-dimensional.
Right. So they're
And teams know what they're going to do. And they still can't stop this kid.